Tennessee's basketball team this season is better than they were last year. Will you bank on it?
Yes.
And I'm going to give you an out. Can I give you an out?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, let's say they get a bad draw and they don't make the Elite Eight. I'm not going to judge you on that. You see what I'm saying? Because basketball is basketball. You know, you could get a bad draw and face the hottest team in the nation in the second round and get bounced. So I'm not judging you on that. This is an eyeball thing. Is this team right now as good as Tennessee's basketball team January the 6th this time last year? And will it end up being better? Bank on it, yay or nay?
Yay, yay, and yay.
Bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Why? Caleb explains.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
All right, Caleb. I can't roll with you, man. I think Dalton connects too good, but I will give you some kudos in that this team is already better than I thought it would be. The question is just, do they continue to develop? What have been your early impressions in this team now that we're into SEC play? And we'll talk specifically about the Arkansas game and beating John Calipari, which is always nice.
Yeah. Well, let's actually we'll break down the Arkansas game here, and then we can get to John Calipari in a second, because that was proof that they were better, because there was a big difference in that game. One, Chaz Lanier was Chaz Lanier. He was 5 of 9 from 3 because he's the best three-point shooter in Tennessee basketball history. He's better than Chris Lofton was from 3. He's better than Allen Houston was from 3, and he's better than Dale Ellis was from 3. Dale Ellis didn't even shoot threes when he was at Tennessee.
No, that's true.
So he's a better shooter than all three of those guys. There's that. There's also the fact that Tennessee actually has some dogs underneath the basket now. And I don't know if you watched the game on Saturday, Dave, but
oh yeah, it's my job. It's my job.
This used to not be our policy, but it's the NIL age. So in the NIL age, we're allowed to do this. Tennessee is glad to be without Jonas Aidoo.
That's okay. That's what I was going to say, and you beat me to it to kind of support your point. Felix Okpara, I hope I'm pronouncing his name. I struggle with his name. That's a better inside presence than Jonas Aidoo. And I don't care if Jonas Aidoo averages 26 points a game for Arkansas. Tennessee's not hurting for scoring. Tennessee needs that defensive presence, and that's what undermined them last year. So, to me, if you had to choose between one player that best fits this team, you might like Aidoo for another team. And he might be a better fit with Calipari or whoever. But for this, I'll take Felix over Jonas any day of the week.
Oh, you're being nice. I'll take it a step further. Felix has a scintilla of mental toughness in him. Jonas Aidoo is the mentally weakest player to have ever played for Rick Barnes. And you saw that with Arkansas. Why did Tennessee lose to Purdue last year? Because Jonas Aidoo shrunk beneath the pressure of trying to contain Zach Edey.
In all fairness, we're talking about a two-time college basketball player of the year.
Yes, but Jonas Aidoo got rattled so much he missed. Here's the point about these defensive presences you talk about at center. They still got to be able to make point-blank looks at the rim, right, when they're open. That's rule number one. He missed 4 last year in the Elite Eight because he was so rattled. Then he goes and plays Tennessee on Saturday. All the pressure's there, right? He's going back to Knoxville. He's going back to Thompson Bowling. All the team players he just left. And he's getting booed every time he touches the ball. Dave, he got wrecked. And I mean mentally got wrecked. He got sent to the free throw line early. Within 4 minutes into the game, missed both free throws. He was mentally out of it. Igor Milicic Jr. Had one of the highest rebounding games in Tennessee history. Had 18 rebounds. Tennessee won that game because they dominated the offensive glass. Why? Jonas Aidoo was getting beaten down low on the glass. He shouldn't be getting beaten like that, by the way. Physically, I think you will agree with me. Physically, Jonas Aidoo is as gifted as Felix Opera or Igor Milicic, right?
Yes.
But they were working the heck out of him because he was not mentally there. This is why Tennessee's better. They have more mentally tough inside players this year. Now, Toby Owaka, who did transfer, was mentally tough. I give it to him on that. But I think Igor Milicic has that mental toughness, and he's got a finesse game that I think is a little more important in today's college basketball game with spacing.
Well, I'm okay with you would have said something that would have been a keyword before I've seen them play, that he's a finesse player, has a finesse game. I'm fine with a guy having a finesse game as long as you're physical with other players down low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Kevin McHale was finesse, right? But he was physical.
I mean, technically Steph Curry's finesse, right? But Draymond Green righted the wrongs and didn't let anybody push him around. So I'm fine with having one or two, or even 3 or 4 finesse players, just as long. And I go back to that Purdue game. If you're Jonas Aidoo and you enter that game, Caleb, how do you not know that you're outmatched? And I don't know how much basketball you played, but I played a lot of basketball. In times that I knew I was physically outmatched, do you know what I did?
You cheap shot it. That's what you do. You get in a player's head.
Early, I would try to block a shot and come down. My arm would come down hard. And then it's just like going to prison. Everybody needs to think you're a little crazy.
Yes. And you got to hope you get in the player's head.
And dude, it worked for me. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, probably had at best a 28-inch vertical jump at my best at 18. But I could hang with a lot of players that were better than me because they're like, I don't want to deal with this stuff. I mean, he's just going to foul me if I go low. I don't understand why Jonas Aidoo didn't go out there and get a flagrant in the first 5 minutes.
Yes. Exactly. And here's the thing.
And Rick Barnes shouldn't have to tell him to do that. He should have known that.
He should have known that. And Jonas Aidoo, you could tell, he looked like he was the one getting cheap shotted the way he was backing away from the basket. He looked like he was the scared one. And you know Zach Edey wasn't cheap shotting him. Jonas Aidoo was scared of the moment, and he was scared of the moment on Saturday. And this is the truth. This is, by the way, was always the case on Blake Griffin when he was in the NBA. The book on Blake Griffin, for those who don't know, who could have been a Hall of Fame post player, was cheap shot him. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm a big Grizzly fan. Zach Randolph and Blake Griffin had a big rivalry back in the day. Blake Griffin was the athlete. Zach Randolph was the tough, physical down low guy. Zach Randolph would win those battles because he'd throw an elbow when no one was looking. You know what I mean? He'd bring him to the ground, and it got to a point to where finally in a playoff game when the Grizzlies eliminated the Clippers, Zach Randolph grabbed a part of his region that you don't want to grab, and he shouted the P word at Blake and got thrown out the game, and every Grizzly fan cheered him. It was like, yeah, that's what you do. And this year, Tennessee's got guys that you're not good. One, I don't think you can cheap shot Igor Milicic or Felix Opera. Okay. I don't think you can because I think they're tough enough to come back. And 2, Opera himself can cheap shot back if he's outmatched. And so I'm totally with you. And by the way, the truth is Milicic, he's a finesse player, but here's what people don't, we talk about Polynesian kids in football sometimes. Can I talk about Eastern European kids in basketball a lot of times?
Sure. I know you're big into stereotypes.
People mistake in basketball all the time the finesse of Eastern European kids with thinking they're soft. Those Eastern European kids typically aren't soft. If you actually go head to head with them, they are like the scariest MFers in the NBA right now.
Well, listen,
a lot of times.
Well, yeah, and they played against men a lot of times when they were 16 and 15. I'll take the kid in today's basketball that has the finesse game, like Milo, over a Kevin McHale. Now, if you would have, you remember Kevin McHale, right? The post player.
I don't remember him, but I know of Kevin McHale.
He was the classic. He's going to run up and down the court slow as you can possibly imagine because he's not very coordinated, and he's taught himself back to the basket moves, and you can dump it into him and you can get 2. But nowadays, that is so antiquated. I mean, is there, other than Zach Edey, is there a player you can remember in recent history that you say stands on the block and they dump it into and he creates a bucket? That just doesn't happen.
But I think there could be a resurgence of that because of how much spacing is in the NBA today. There's a market for it. But I like finesse. We're mistaken.
You would
finesse.
As far as playing style, you would take an Igor. I'm having trouble coming up with one that's in your generation.
Zach Randolph was my generation. Zach Randolph played on the block the whole time.
You would take the playing style of an Igor over a Zach in today's game, correct? I don't want a guy out there that can't score at all.
Yeah. Generally speaking, you're right. Now, the thing is, though, I think we're mistaking. I think we have to be fair, and I think you would agree. We're mistaking finesse with soft. Igor's finesse. That doesn't mean he's soft. He just has skills, but he can fight. And this is what happened on Saturday. This is why this team is so darn good. They're tough. And also, we're not even pointing this out. Zakai Zeigler just drove it straight on Jonas Aidoo like 4 times for buckets. Jonas Aidoo got a foot on Zakai Zeigler, and he's like, I don't care. And here's the real kicker in all this is like the backcourt for Tennessee. Zakai will fight anybody. Zakai is literally like, they may be better than me, but I bet they won't fight me. I mean, yeah. And you love that.
I was told by somebody recently that Zakai basically could run practice.
I've heard that too.
You're talking about a future coach. I mean, he is that ahead of the game mentally. So he's going to see things. He's going to play hard. I don't know every point guard in the nation, but I don't know that there's a team out there that wouldn't say Zakai Zeigler, come on down.
Zakai Zeigler is Tennessee's basketball's Jawan Jennings. That's who he is. By the way,
I still don't. You mentioned Jawan Jennings in such a positive note. I still don't like the storming off social media stuff.
Oh, you stand alone in Vol Nation for this game.
I know
you stand alone. By the way, did you see Jawan Jennings get thrown out of a game yesterday for excessive blocking?
No, but that's awesome. If I was going to get thrown out of a game for anything, it would be excessive.
He got thrown out. He did. He was like a few yards short of 1,000 yards for the season receiving, and they threw him out of the game because he blocked a player too hard. Like a receiver who blocked a player too hard, they threw him out of the game for that.
Why do I love that? Because I don't kind of like it.
Because Jawan Jennings is awesome. Yeah. And by the way, look at San Francisco fans. They love Jawan Jennings. He's their favorite player.
I don't doubt that.